good morning, good afternoon, good day, good evening, wherever you are in this world. I hope you find it in a place of goodness because, as we know, this world is beautiful and messy as well. I am Carol C.C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger, coming to you with another episode of Embrace Your Life Chat, where the intention is to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. So I am in Chicago. It is a chilly spring day here, but it is still lovely. Let me know where you are joining me from in comments. And also let me know if you are new to my work because I love being able to welcome in new community members as well as having the regulars here. So let me know where you're joining me from. And as usual, if you've been here before, you know I like to go over a couple of house cleaning items. And the first is I'm not an absolutist. I'm not a big fan of always, never, right or wrong, good or bad. There are 7 billion people on this planet. I can't begin to say what is right or wrong for 7 billion people. So, my personal work and a lot of the work that I do with my coaching clients and um, consulting clients is to work on the majority of the time. 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. I don't know anybody at 0 and I don't know anybody at 100, but I do know people who are closer to those levels. My work is to be in the 80 to 100% of the time positive, kind, loving, compassionate, and peaceful. Those are my top values. So that's what I strive to do. What does that mean? Fear, frustration, disappointment, anger, unworthiness, all of those things visit me, but because of my daily practices, they do not move in and stay permanently. Secondly, I'm a coach. I love supporting people in living what their best life looks like. I am not a counselor nor am I a therapist. And sometimes, in order to live your best life, getting that type of support is helpful to do so. So I encourage you to get the support that you need. You can hire me as a coach. Show up here every Tuesday and Thursday for some free information or look into counseling, therapy, whatever. I just know that you're worthy of living your best life, whatever that looks like. So if you're new, I pick a word to work with for the day, then we define it, come up with an affirmation, some tips to use around it to bring that into your daily practices of living your best life. So I'm going to go into comments really quickly, then back to the topic, and then I'll come back to comments to answer any questions at the end. And as always, I just use one of those absolute words. If you have some ideas of what you would like me to address in a future conversation, put those in comments too. If it's something I feel that I can bring some love, kindness, compassion, and peace to the conversation, I will bring it on a future Tuesday, Thursday episode because I do like being able to respond to the community questions that way. So welcome, Dia. Good to see you here. Allison Pierre from Cairo, Egypt. Well, I'm so glad to hear that, Pierre. Wonderful. I'm hoping I say your name right. Munaf from Pakistan. And you say you're Adam. So welcome, welcome. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anybody. Lisa, hello. Gina from Turlock, California. Awesome. It's one of the things that I like best about this community is any of these Tuesday, Thursday conversations, there's people from all over the world. We may have different backgrounds. We may have different ideologies, maybe different religions, but at the end of the day, most of us are looking for the same thing. Again, I'm not going to go into absolutes because there may be a couple people in the 7 billion people who don't want connection with people, who don't want to feel safe and to have a home and feel secure. But the vast, vast majority of us do want that. Hello, Erica. Good to see you here. And Artan from Michigan. So wonderful. Okay, Artan, that's a good one. And I have discussed that before, but it's always a good one to bring up. And maybe this will even help your that topic as well. But I will look for back ones that I did and try to share that link with you too, Artan. But dealing with anxiety, so many people deal with it. It's certainly a good topic to cover more than once. But today we're going to be talking about stories. And what stories are you telling yourself? What stories are you telling others about your own life? Are you telling them about the things that you're grateful for in your life, the things that you love in your life, the things that you're excited about in your life? Or are you telling them the unworthy stories in your life, the things that you don't like, the things that you're afraid of, the things that are disappointing and frustrating to you? Now, All of that exists. Again, remember, I work on the majority. So when I say if you're focused on fear, I'm not saying remotely that that's wrong or bad. It's about how much time, energy, and attention do you want to give it. So if you're wanting to live your best life, if you're giving most of your attention to what is not your best life, if you're giving your energy and time to what is not your best life, then you are feeding that energy. Not right or wrong. It's just what you're doing right in the moment. And obviously, when you're going through a really hard time in your life, it's really, really easy to focus on the don't wants because they're right in front of you. It is still possible to focus on the do wants. It just takes a little bit more work. So today we're working with stories, and what stories are you telling? So the definition of story is an account of incidents or events. And I have a great example on how we see things differently. And this was several years ago. I was at dinner with a really good friend of mine, and it was a really busy Friday or Saturday night. I don't remember which, but it was super busy at the restaurant. At the end of the night, I felt we had a good evening. My friend felt that the server did not pay attention to us, and she was disappointed. Where I thought, oh, it was a busy night, so of course, like, he did the best he could, but because it was so busy, it wasn't maybe as attentive as you might have wanted on another given night. I saw it in a more positive light. She saw it in a more negative light. Not right or wrong. It was just where we were in the moment. So the more you're paying attention to your thoughts, words, and actions, the more you're able to shift it into what you want it to be, or stay exactly where you are. Again, it's not a right or wrong. So the definition is story, an account of incidents or events. So how are you sharing your stories on the good things that are going on in your life, and also sharing your stories on the things that are difficult in your life? I'm not asking you to pretend that everything is rainbows and puppies and kittens if you're not in that space. But there is a way to share your story from a place of empowerment, from a place of asking for support, rather than asking for, asking for sympathy. So it's the way you want to share that story as well. So today's affirmation is simply affirming something. You can affirm positive things, you can affirm negative things. We tend to want to affirm positive things. However, if whatever statement you say, often affirmations, and they don't have to be, but a lot of times they are, I am this. So if I affirmed, I am really smart, and then that's a positive statement. But if I immediately think, no, I'm not, then it's not a positive statement for me. So I might want to go into, I'm in the process of feeling really smart. So today's affirmation is, my life story gets better and better every day. My life's story gets better and better every day. Now, if you're still right now in a moment where you're not feeling like it's getting better, you're in a really hard time, you might want to shift it to, I'm in the process of believing my life story is getting better and better every day, or change it completely to something that is believable for you. It can be a stretch from where you are right now. It doesn't have to be exactly where you're at. But if it's too big of a stretch, then you're immediately negating it. And the intention behind the affirmation is to replace those negative thoughts that we have in the back of our heads that we're not even aware that we're using to make decisions by, because they're just unconscious thoughts that keep popping up without our awareness that they exist. So when we affirm things, we're wanting to affirm how we want to feel, how we want our life to be. So if that affirmation works for you, I would love for you to use it, or feel free in comments to share some affirmations that you would like to do on affirming the living your best life story, not about affirming the challenges, the tragedies, the injustice of what has happened in your life, but affirming where you're at or where you want to go. So I would love to see those. And then tips for practicing telling a new story, a better story, or continuing, if you've already started this work on talking about what you want more than what you don't want. And again, I want to repeat, I'm not asking you to pretend. I'm not asking you to look away from the hard things you're dealing with. I'm asking you to bring love to the hard things you're dealing with. I'm asking you to bring love to the things that you feel are unfair and unworthy and unjust in your life in the world. So it's not about pretending it doesn't exist, but it is about giving your attention to what you want. If you want more peace in your life and in the world, give your attention to more peace. When we're giving our attention to hatred and injustice, we're feeding that energy rather than bringing the energy into those hard places that we want it to be. So tip 1, pay attention to your feelings. If you've been with me before, it looks like I got quite a few newbies here today. So it's going to be one that you hear me say a lot, because when we're aware of how we feel, then we're in the driver's seat, and we can choose to stay feeling sad. We can choose to stay feeling angry. We can choose to stay feeling frustrated. None of those are bad feelings. Again, it's how much time, energy, and attention do you want to give them? Or we can step forward to feel a little bit better. But when we're in autopilot, life is living us and we're not living life. So being aware of how you feel is key in shifting almost anything that we go through. Again, I'm not going to give the absolutes, but it's pretty close to an absolute, that knowing how you feel is what allows you to shift into feeling better, or it puts you into awareness that you don't feel good, and that's okay too. Feel what you need to feel and then move forward to feel a little bit better. Tip 2, be aware of your thoughts, words, and actions. A lot of times we may talk about the fact that we want to live in a happy, peaceful, loving world, and yet our thoughts and our words and our actions are anything but happy, peaceful, and loving. And often we're the most unkind to ourselves. So pay attention. Not beat yourself up when you're catching yourself going on a negative rant or complaining or blaming or shaming. It's feelings that we all have, and I do not do shame. I have to say that. I'm very word sensitive, so that it's a powerful, powerful one for me. But I certainly can get into blame mode, and I can get into complain mode. Because of my daily practices, I don't do it often, and I don't stay there very long, but it still does happen. It's when I'm aware of my thoughts being negative, when I'm aware of my thoughts being unkind, when I'm aware of my thoughts being in conflict and lack of peace, that is when I can shift into, this doesn't feel good. What will feel a little bit better? What words can I use to bring more peace into my life and in the world? What words can I use to bring more love, kindness, and compassion into my life and into the world? What actions can I take today to bring more love, kindness, compassion, and peace and positivity, my top values, into the world? Share a smile, share a kind word, do something easy for somebody that doesn't require you saving the entire world, but just saving that one person, noticing that one person in front of you is a big action to take. So really small steps do have a major impact. And then remember, you are the star of your own story. Like, you can let other people tell your story. You can let other people direct your story, produce your story, but you're the star of it. You get to decide. You're the supporting actors in your story. You get to decide, are they ones who uplift you? Are they ones who tear you down? You get to decide, I want to spend a lot more time with the ones who make me feel better and less time with the ones who tear me down. You get to decide if you don't even have the ones who tear you down in your life anymore. It's a decision you get to make. But when you realize you're the star of your story, then you get to decide all of the aspects of it from your vantage point. All of your supporting actors, guess what? They're the stars in their story. So they get to decide on the role you play in their lives as you decide that for them as well. So know that you are the star of your story. What story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell a story of triumph? Do you want to tell a story of resilience? Do you want to tell a story of inspiration? Do you want to tell a story of hopefulness? Or do you want to tell a story of victimhood? And I'm not saying that there aren't times that we aren't victims, but it's how long do you want to spend in that space? Give it the energy to grow. Again, I'm not here to say what is right or wrong or good or bad. I am here to ask you to look into ways you can bring more love, kindness, compassion, and peace to your life, and then it makes it easier to bring it to others as well. So next tip, step into gratitude. Even on our hardest days, and it doesn't mean it's easy to find gratitude, but even when we're going through a really difficult time, there is gratitude to be seen if we're willing to see it. And sometimes it might be going back to things that we often take for granted. I'm breathing on my own. I don't need to figure out how to breathe. I don't need to hook myself up to equipment to breathe. My heart beats on its own. I have a warm bed to sleep in. There's many different things. And then if you're having a health challenge, maybe you're grateful that there's medical equipment that allows you to breathe better, that keeps your heart beating properly. So even on your hardest days, if you're willing to look for it, you can find gratitude. Again, it's not right or wrong. I'm going to say we all. The vast majority of us, there might be a couple of people who don't experience hard times, bad days, bad moods, or whatever. So honor how you're feeling and then decide, do you want to stay there or do you want to move forward to feel a little bit better? And then I encourage you to practice your lines because you're the star of your show. So pay attention. What are you speaking about? What are you thinking about? What are you acting upon? Are you acting as the star of your show? Are you speaking as you're the star of your show? Are you thinking about you're the star of your show? Don't beat yourself up if you're acting as the supporting character in your own movie, or maybe like you're not, like you're the villain in your movie. That's a possibility as well. Because when we beat ourselves up over those types of things, we're feeding the energy of fear. We're feeding the energy of what we don't want. And what we don't want is not right or wrong. It's how much time, energy, and attention do we want to give it. Remember, I said a scale 0 to 100, and I work on the 80 to 100% because I've been doing it for so long. However, 51% is the majority of the time. If you're at 30, if you're at 40, if you're at 49%, you're not right or wrong. It's where you're at. Ask yourself, is this what I want? Is this where I want to be? And then take small steps. We can do massive change. Often people fall back on what they've been daily programmed for a very long time. So small incremental steps tends to have a more lasting effect than a big, massive shift all at once. Doesn't mean you can't do the massive shift. Maybe you're one of the people that is not in the majority that can do that. But no, it's often the small little steps forward to start doing the affirmations to affirm that you're worthy of living the life you want. Affirm that you're worthy of having the connections you want. Affirm that you're worthy of having the meaningful work that you want, to live in the home you want, to live in the location you want. It's about focusing on you, bringing some love, kindness, compassion, and peace to you, and then being able to share it and spread it out further from there. So those are my tips for today. Our word is story. The definition is an account or incidents or events. So how are you sharing your story? And if you've been sharing it from a place of unhappiness, don't beat yourself up over it. Matter of fact, if that works for you, keep sharing that story. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to invite you to see from a space of love, kindness, compassion, and peace. So I'm going to come into comments, see if there's any questions about today's topics. Let's see here. Erica, preach. Yeah, that's me. I'm a preacher. It's hard to fight and be positive. Erica, you are so, I'm so aligned to that. I'm not even a big fan of the word fight because I'm word sensitive. So words do play a very important part of my life. Not everybody's like that. So if word sensitivity isn't a challenge for you, that's awesome because it is a challenge for me. So using the word fight, when we're fighting cancer, when we're fighting violence, when we're fighting things, we tend to be giving the fight the energy. So I am pro health rather than fighting illness. I am pro abundance rather than fighting poverty. I am pro peace rather than fighting violence. Now, the majority of the world speaks from the terms of fight. So I don't want you to get upset about that. That's just kind of where we're at type thing. But you can shift the words for yourself if fight is a hard word. That song by Rachel Platten, Fight Song, I love that song. And yet the fact that it's called Fight Song drives me a little crazy. So thank you, Erica, for pointing that out because it is, again, it's important the words you use. It's important the actions that you take. And it's really important the thoughts that you think. Because I'm word sensitive, I don't often use words that are harmful to myself or others or actions that are harmful to myself or others. My work is mostly in my thoughts, to be gentle to myself and my thoughts, to be gentle with people who might be harming others. Not to say that there aren't consequences, but to not feed that fuel of fear. So it's really about what you need to work on. Let's see. I'm going back here. Christina, hello. I focus on peace. Wonderful, Christina. I like that you're willing to show what you believe is right. Not enough of that authenticity and personal development and spirituality. I am also with you on there, Erica. Let's see if I've had a question that I've missed, please put it in again, because sometimes I don't even see the questions. And Arton, how to reduce anxiety, I will bring that up in another conversation. I missed you too, Erica. Hi from Quezon City, Philippines. Good morning, Maricel. I hope I said your name's right. Let's see here. Am I missing anybody? Hello, Kathy. Lisa, as much as you can go over things in your head, when sharing can often stir up things and make it worse than what we actually wanted to share. How do you get on the side of security and feeling safe enough to love ourselves? Lisa, that is a fabulous question. And I might actually make that its own topic. I have discussed self-love before, but I think that it's important for you on that is to look into, do you react to something or are you responding to something? Often when we're emotional, especially, and I absolutely was an initial knee-jerk responder for most of my life. I'm a fairly emotional person. I've learned how to take pause, which was my blog today. I don't know if you're on my email list, Lisa, but that was what I blogged about today, is when you pause, take some deep breaths, recenter yourself so you're not coming from that emotional state. And the emotional state may be absolutely valid. I very much feel valid when I'm upset about gun violence. However, if I'm acting from that space, I am feeding what I don't want rather than pausing. What is it that I want out of this conversation? What is it that I want out of this experience? If I'm coming in angry, I'm probably going to get anger back out. I don't know about you, but if somebody's yelling at me, and thankfully it doesn't happen that often, it's been a while, I've shut down and I'm probably in defense mode. So even if that person is saying something to me that I need to hear, I'm not listening. You're yelling at me, I'm done. So think about how you want to be perceived, what you want out of that conversation, and also to be gentle with yourself if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. So I don't know, Lisa, like if you have more specifics, if that helped or not, but I will address self-kindness, and maybe I'll look for the link and send that to you again to re-listen to. Pretty much everything I say here Tuesdays and Thursdays is the same thing with maybe just a little different flavor. It is about being gentle with yourself. It's about being aware of how you feel and deciding if you want to move forward. It's about who do you want to be in this world and how do you want to show up in this world and what kind of world do you want to live in. We can absolutely blame, shame, and complain about ourselves and others. There's lots of things out there that are worthy of blame. I'm not going to say shame and complaint. Absolute awesome. I don't want to say awesome. Absolute a lot of reasons out there to do that. For me, that is feeding that energy of what I don't want. So it's about going back into what I do want. I want to live in a world filled with love, kindness, compassion, and peace the majority of time. I don't think violence is ever going to go completely away, but it can be reduced. I don't think negativity is ever going to go away. Matter of fact, I don't think negativity should go away, but it can be reduced in us and in others. It's who do you want to show up and how do you want to be? Let's see here. I hope that helped, Erica. I hope that helped, Lisa. Would you please make a talk about grief? I lost my father 3 months ago, and I'm grateful for what is, though. Pierre, I will do that, and you might. It's been 3.5 years since I lost my mother. I don't know that I've done one on grief, or it's been a while because I tend to tear up when I talk about grief, but it is a very, very important topic. So I will absolutely, if I don't write it down right now, Pierre, I will forget it in about 10 minutes after the show. Okay. And I'm sending you so much love about your father. It's losing our parents is a difficult thing for sure. Losing anyone we love is a difficult thing. How about changing your story? Erica, can you explain what do you suggest for a story change? Oh, okay, that's right. I like the word awesome sauce too, Erica. How to combat loneliness. Okay. You guys are giving me some great ideas today. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to. Oh, okay. Regret and loneliness. Those are awesome. I'm going to really quickly address regret. And again, Pallavi, I hope I'm saying your name right. Remember, we're all different. So if this doesn't work for you, then that's okay, and I will address it. But for me, everything I have done in my life, there's many, many, many things I've done in my life that I don't want to do again. I hope I don't do again. However, every experience I've had to this point has brought me to where I am, and I like who I am now. So if I changed any of those experiences that I could regret doing or saying or whatever, that would shift maybe just a little bit, maybe not a big shift, but it would shift who I am today. So rather than regret things that I'm not proud of, I look at it as a learning experience and growth experience and moving forward from there. Now, there are a lot of people who, like one of my favorite mentors, Brene Brown, she regrets things. So a lot of people do regret. So it's not wrong to regret. It's just not something that works for me. So if you think about it that way and maybe look at what did you learn from that experience that you now regret happening. But I will look at discussing that at a future time, how to manifest the things that I want. Jimmy, I have done a conversation on that too. So I'm going to look. What I do is usually sometime this day, I will download this from Facebook, upload it to YouTube because it's just easier to find in YouTube. I'm going to share really quick my link that you can find pretty much anything about me, but it shares my YouTube link too, so you can go look for them as well. But I will try to later today look for the manifest. And guess what, Jimmy? That doesn't mean I can't bring it up again. Let me write that down. And Erica, I'm getting to your question, I promise. So to shift the story, to change the story. So you're telling a story of disempowerment. You're telling a story of hardship. You're telling a story of anger. I would encourage you, first of all, not to beat yourself up over that. You're telling a story of victimhood. Whatever story you are sharing that has you playing the role of less than, that you're not good enough or whatever, you're feeling less than. That's the story you're sharing. Don't beat yourself up over it. Pay attention to how you feel. Does this feel good to share that story? Some people it might feel good to share a story of woe is me. But I think the more you practice it, the more you'll realize internally that doesn't really feel good. It might feel good for a moment where people give you positive feedback, or like, I don't want to say positive, but like, how dare they do that to you? But in the long run, the more that you're aware of how you feel in your current story, and then just take small steps to affirm it being a little bit better. Like, wow, that went better than expected. That's one of mine that I use, especially for meetings that I'm not looking forward to. Before I go into a meeting, I'll say, that meeting went better than expected. So it may not have been a perfect meeting, but it went better than I was expecting it to be for whatever reason. So just look at, you know what? I'm going to encourage you all to write down a list of, you're the star of your show. What does that movie look like? Who are your, not necessarily who is in your life right now, because you may have some characters in your life that aren't supportive, but what characters, who is your leading character with you? Who are the supporting actors with you? What is it that you're wanting to do in your life to create the life that you deserve to live and you're worthy of living? And then when you're actual in your current story that isn't that space, what steps can you do to shift it into that? Curiosity is also another big thing for me that I use. I'm like, I wonder what it'd feel like if I wasn't so upset about this. The work of Byron Katie helps to be able to de-stress stressful thoughts. So there's lots of different little tips you can do to change that show. Speak, Carol. There's lots of things you can do to change that story, but one of them I would really encourage you is to remember you are the star of your story. Are you wanting to tell a story of what is that called? The hero's journey. The hero's journey has some hard chapters in it, and then there's triumph. So know that even if you're in a hard chapter right now, you could still share it from a way of, this is hard, but I know I'm going to get through it. One of the things I do when I'm upset about something and I call up my bestie, I'll say, I just need you to listen right now. I don't need solutions. I just need you to hear me. And then maybe in 5 minutes, we'll talk about solutions, or the next day we'll talk about solutions. But it's about sharing it from my perspective, not to say this person did this to me. I will say I feel hurt because of what this person said. So keep it about you rather than about the other person. Because the majority of times, even when our feelings are hurt, often, not always, but often that other person, it wasn't their intention to hurt our feelings. They don't know that it triggered something that happened to us 5 years ago, 2 days ago, type of thing. So know that I'm a firm believer that the vast majority of people want to be kind. They want to be loving. They want to be compassionate. And they want to be peaceful. The ones who aren't are in a space of deep fear for whatever has gone on in their life. So when you can look behind the action of the don't want, you can find compassion there, because there's a story, their story, that brought them to their breaking point. Doesn't mean their actions don't have consequences, but you're able to see past that experience and see that hurt person inside of them that created that challenge. Erica, I hope that helps. So let me know. And I don't see any new questions, but I did write down to talk about grief, regret, loneliness, how to manifest what you want, and self-love. Like, I think today I've got more topics than I do sometimes for 2 weeks. So you guys are awesome. And I try to write down the names of who was asked to be able to share that. So I'm going to love and leave you for the day. I encourage you, feel free to put in the comments here. I will come back later and look too, because again, sometimes for whatever reason, the system I use, I don't see the comment until after the fact. So if I've missed something, I will promise I will come back later today and look. So if you want to share what your new story is going to be, or your new affirmation that's going to help you create that story, I would love to hold that vision for you. So I will be back Thursday. I don't know what the topic will be. It will probably be one of these. I'm not sure yet, but I will be back Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is Chicago time. Again, go to that link and you can go onto YouTube and find past conversations too. Actually, you can scan, if you're on Positive Focus, you can just go to the videos on Positive Focus and it will show all of them too. They're all stored there. So let's do one last quick look here. Kathy, you are so welcome. Really hope to hear you speak. Well, Jimmy, I hope you come back again. So Thursday, I will pick one of these topics Thursday, unless something crazy happens between now and then that I need to discuss before too much time passes by. But I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for this community, because again, I really do believe the vast majority of people want love, kindness, compassion, and peace to be their guiding principles. So thank you for joining me. I will talk to you Thursday at 11:30 Chicago time. Until then, remember, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to the world. And most importantly, you matter to you. So we'll talk soon. So long for now.